Perfect. Thank you, Yash. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to this session. So just a bit about CJ. We, conduct these events um, to support the different needs of the community. We have coaches from various countries, and I think we are about 750 coaches strong now. Soon, the aim is soon to be 1,000 coaches. Uh, I'd invite all of you to, actively share with us the topics that you'd like us to cover. If you know speakers who would benefit, or if you are one such speaker who'd like to contribute, do reach out to the builders, and so we can curate more such events for you. And that brings us to today, which is generating leads, is the topic that I think I have heard a lot about amongst coaches. How do you get business? Now I've learned how to coach, but where do I find these clients? This is a topic that's spoken about the most in coaching communities, and we are looking at one aspect of this today, which is finding speaking engagements and generating leads through that while doing something that we enjoy, as well as building some thought leadership in the space. And our community is no stranger to the speaker that we have here today with us, who has delivered some sessions in the past for us as well. Over the last 7 years, Aki, our speaker, has built a following of thousands of coaches and trainers from around the world. He believes that coaches and trainers are agents of change. And through his signature program, which is called the Coaching Business Builder, he has helped aspiring coaches and trainers from 21 different countries and diverse backgrounds, such as corporate professionals, doctors, hypnotherapists, teachers, and housewives, manage their ICF coaching and/or NLP coaching and training skills to start and grow their own businesses from scratch. And I'm also told that he's somebody who puts in a lot of research to put these masterclasses together for all of us. So in today's masterclass, Aki will be sharing with us how to generate more leads and clients for your coaching business through speaking engagements. So I'd like to now welcome Aki, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Shivani. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Before I begin, if you could turn on your cameras, please, as much as possible. If you can turn on the camera, because when you do these sessions online, sometimes you're sitting here thinking, am I just talking to a computer? So if you could turn on the cameras, it'll be great. So first of all, I want to really appreciate you and thank you for being here, wherever you're joining from. You're here on time. That means a lot. So I'll give you one promise right away. I will do everything in my power in the next 90 to 95 minutes to make it well worth your time in the context of sharing with you how to get speaking engagements and generate leads and clients from there. Okay, so that sounds good. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. So if you can see my screen, give me a thumbs up, please. All right, good. So let's begin. So the topic, as you all know, is how to generate more leads and clients through speaking engagements. And just a little bit about me. I'm a certified trainer of NLP. I'm an ICF coach and international speaker as well. And I want to thank two people in the beginning for making this happen and organizing this masterclass. I know there are a few other people in the CJ team as well. So if I've not put your picture or your name here, just know that I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. We don't have space to put everybody's pictures, right? So I just put it. So thank you, Shivani. Thank you, Kenneth. So you will have three big takeaways by the end of this masterclass, okay? And those are my three promises. Number one, you will understand by the end of the masterclass what is the oldest and the most powerful method to get selected as a speaker. And this might be much easier than most of you think. Okay. Second one, you will find out, how to find out events related to your target market, both online and offline, in less than 10 minutes. Because one of the big questions when it comes to getting speaking gigs is, how do I find the events? Where do I look, right? So I have a small formula for you, which I've learned from one of my ex-colleagues, and I'll share that with you. So the third one is the A to Z of the speaker application process. So you know the entire process of what it takes from preparing yourself, identifying opportunities, applying for it, speaking, and then converting them into clients. So if that sounds exciting, please put yes in the chat. We need a lot of energy in this masterclass. Okay. If that sounds exciting, put yes in the chat. Okay, very good. So let's get started. So just to give you a little bit more context into why I'm doing this masterclass, and over the last 7 years, my work has primarily been in the area of helping coaches to get clients and grow their business. And when I look at all of these things, one-on-one mentoring / coaching, training, group sessions, all of these things, there's one common ingredient in this, and that is when I understood for the first time how to leverage speaking engagements, that really transformed my business, and it enabled me to have more visibility and help other coaches do the same. And I'm going to be revealing step by step on how you can do the same thing. But the journey wasn't always easy. There was a time when I was very confused. I didn't know where to start, where to look for, who can guide me. I didn't know any of those things. In fact, I had many questions in the beginning. Some of them were, number one, why would anyone choose me as a speaker? In the beginning, this is, more like a limiting belief, because some of us really, we don't really appreciate how much we have achieved, and we kind of undervalue ourselves, right? So this actually came from that place for me many years ago. And second one, where should I begin? Third, how to find speaking opportunities? How do I apply? And finally, how do I turn those opportunities into clients? So those were the questions that I had. In fact, I'm just curious to know, what are your questions? So if you have any other questions other than what I've mentioned, please put them in the chat. What are your questions about getting speaking gigs and converting them into clients? What should I speak about? Yeah, very good question. What can I speak about? Yeah, we will talk about that briefly. And then in the Q&A, we'll talk about it in detail. Any other questions, anyone? So Michelle and Shivani, both of you have a very similar question. Am I supposed to be a specialist in a topic? Short answer, yes. But even if you're not, you can still do it. Where do I find people willing to talk to me? How to craft, design my speaking engagement? How do I know my target audience? Structure, framework. Okay, Kenneth, you will get the answer for your question by the end of the masterclass. I'm glad you're asking a question which is related to my content today. Okay, good. So thank you everybody for sharing your questions. Let me share with you the backstory of how it all started for me. So some of you might know, before I started my own coaching and training business, I used to work in a coaching and training company based in Bangkok. So in 2017, when I first did my NLP practitioner training and the ICF level 1 program, at the end of the program, I was clueless. Just like many of you might be facing challenges right now, I was clueless with regards to how to get clients, where to approach them, etc. So what I did was I applied to work with the same company from which I got my training. And the gentleman on my right, his name is Sebastian Leblond. He's from Canada, and he was my mentor and the owner of the training and coaching company. So I worked with him for about 3 years. And during these 3 years, I was able to do a lot of different jobs within the company. We were a small company. So except accounting and finance, I did everything else, from marketing, selling, event management, training, coaching, all of it. So during this period, I would watch him from the side, like I was an assistant coach / trainer. So I would watch him do all of these things. And many times I would ask him questions about how he got started, what were the challenges he faced, what were the setbacks he had to endure, all of these things. And I also did some research on myself, on my own. And here is what I understood. I understood that when it comes to generating speaking opportunities and get leads and clients from there, there has to be a process which is proven. If you go with a random process and you're doing something out of trial and error, it's going to take you a long time to get results, and most likely you'll end up, burning out and you'll just quit. At least that's the case with most people. So let me share with you the 6 steps process involved in generating leads and clients through speaking gigs. Number 1, make yourself worthy. So what I mean by that is, if you have, some experience in certain area, perhaps you worked in corporate for 15 years, 20 years plus, and you are, an expert in a certain area. So one of the easiest ways for you to position yourself as a coach or a trainer is to leverage your existing experience. So for example, if you have good experience in working with senior leaders, you could position yourself as a leadership coach for senior leaders. So in step 1, what you do is a few things. I'll go into more details and I'll show you step by step on the action steps that you need to take in step 1. Similarly for all the steps. Step 2 is identifying opportunities. Step 3 is reaching out to the decision makers and apply as a speaker. Number 4, deliver a compelling presentation. So if you look at the structure, the first 3 parts is all about identifying opportunities and applying for it. And the last 3 steps is about delivering a presentation and leveraging them to get leads and then convert them. Step 5 is identifying the prospects or prospective clients and doing follow-up. And the last one, converting them into paying clients. Okay. So let's do one thing now. Let's go into each of these steps in a little bit more detail. And I will be getting some of you to engage, and I'll be asking some of you to be a volunteer because it's not like me sitting here and giving a lecture. So if you're okay with me interacting and asking for volunteers, please put 1 in the chat if you'd like to engage. Okay, Ruchi has a question. I will answer them. Thank you for the question. I'll answer them as we go along. All right, good. So I'm happy that you're on board. So let's get started with each of these steps. So another quick story I want to share with you. So when I joined this company in Bangkok, and it took me about a year to actually get used to the understanding about the business side of being a coach and a trainer. So when I started to get clients myself, one day I noticed a big problem that we had within the company. So we were just like any other coach training company. We were training people to become ICF coaches, NLP coaches, trainers, and all of that. So I went to my mentor one day and I told him, Sebastian, I want to share something with you. We are certifying people to become coaches, but we're not telling them how to get clients. So don't you think it's our moral obligation to help them solve this problem? And he thought about it for a few seconds and he said, tell me more, like a classic coach. And I said, here's my idea. Let's do, at the end of one of our trainings, and we had a training coming up in a month, I said, at the end of that training, please give me a chance to speak to these newly certified coaches. And I will put together a program, kind of like a home study course, which these people can use to, understand how to get clients and then how to convert people from a prospect into a client at the end of a discovery call. So after 1 month, I got a chance to speak to these people, and this is actually one of the pictures. It's a bit blurry. Sorry about that. So bottom line is, at the end of this presentation, out of 27 people in the audience, 27 newly certified coaches, 7 people signed up for the program that I had to offer. And this taught me 2 things. Number 1, I understood the power of being on stage, whether it's online or offline. You can address many prospective clients all at once. So rather than being, when you talk to people one-on-one in a discovery call, you're restricted for your time. I'm not saying don't do discovery calls. I'm saying you have more chances of signing more clients when you learn how to present your offer and your niche on stage with a group of people. And number 2, I understood how to structure the ideas and the knowledge that I had, which will make it relevant for the target audience to understand the value that I had to offer. Okay, so in order to break it down and make it easy for you, I've written a few action steps. Okay, let's have a look at them one by one. Number 1, create a speaker profile. How many of you here already have a speaker profile? If you don't have a speaker profile, put me in the chat. If you don't have it. If you have it, you don't need to do anything. Great job. If you don't have a speaker profile yet, put me in the chat. Okay, some of you don't have. All right, no worries. So I'm going to show you my speaker profile now. Can you see this? I just changed the slide. If you can see it, please give me a thumbs up. Okay, all right. Good. So zoom out a bit. So I'll go step by step into each of the pages in the speaker profile. By the way,
I don't think we can see the speaker profile.
is
It's
it?
in the masterclass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shivani, for saying this. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank God. All right, good. So let me walk you through step by step of the speaker profile. By the way, I'm not claiming that this is the only way to do this. I'm saying that this is something that has worked for me and a lot of my other clients. So this will work for you if you implement it. Okay. So the very first thing that you have to take a look at is, how many of you heard about the word hook before? If you're familiar with the word hook, put your hand up. Yeah. So if you're writing content on LinkedIn, you know what I mean, what that means, right? So sending a speaker profile is very similar. It's just like a content piece. The only difference is that you're structuring it in a different way. with some pictures and some information, etc. So the very first thing, in my opinion, is you need a hook which which speaks to a big pain point that your target market have. I'll give an example. So because I work with new coaches, specifically ICF coaches, the hook that I've written, new coaches know how to coach, but struggle to get clients and build their business. How many of you can resonate with this? If you can, put one in the chat. Yeah, so I saw some of the hands go up. So because my target audience are new coaches, this is my hook, right? So now the question is, how can you write your hook? So let me give an example. Let's say that you are a leadership coach and you're working with, let's say, senior leaders in terms of helping their subordinates and improve the communication. So one of the hooks that you could write could be, senior leaders are very good at their job, but struggle to communicate in an effective way to their team members, right? Very simple, straight to the point. So you need to hit people emotionally and like address a big pain point straight away. This is very important. And the only purpose of the hook is what? Who can tell me? What is the purpose of the hook? Anyone? What is the purpose of
get attention of the audience? Yeah.
Absolutely. So get attention. And although, the speaker profile, right? We are not showing this to the audience. The speaker profile is to send it to a decision maker who could give you a speaking opportunity. So the only intention of this is to get them to scroll and see the remaining part of your profile. So yes, get attention and scroll. Okay. So I will come back to the, in fact, we can do a quick activity. Let's take 1 minute. And what I would like all of you to do is think about your niche and your target market and write a good hook in 1 sentence, just 1 sentence. And maybe I'll get a couple of people to share with me and we can do some feedback. So the time starts now. Yes, Mira, I'll come to you. Just 20 more seconds. Ten seconds more. Okay, time is up. If you haven't finished it, no problem. So Mira, what is your question? Go ahead, please. Please unmute yourself.
You asked me for that hook, so I was ready with that.
Oh, great, great. Go ahead, go ahead.
My hook would be weaving tapestries of resilience and hope to help cancer patients work through trauma and see a new life ahead.
Okay. Can I tell you what is good about this and what you can improve?
Sure, sure.
So what is good about this is that you've addressed the target market, which is cancer patients. Okay,
Yes.
that's pretty good. And what's also good about this is that you mentioned briefly what is the pain point they're trying to address. Now, what can be improved is it's very long. So if you can find a way to shorten it, I mean, this is something that will need some time. Okay, you don't have, I don't expect any of you to do it like instantly. So that's just my small feedback. Just find a way to make it a bit shorter. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Let's give her a big hand, everybody. It takes a lot of courage to share that too as a first person. That's awesome. Very good.
I'm a textile engineer, so even my LinkedIn posts are all about weaving and adding resilience, hope, and inner strength.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. That's good. So one more person who would like to share. I can't really see anybody actually. Shivani, if you could help me. Anybody is raising?
There are a few in the chat.
Oh, okay. So
Do you want me to read them?
Actually, I'd like to get one person to share it so that I can give feedback.
Okay, perfect. So who's feeling Okay, go ahead.
Rachna, yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so what I have written is leaders know to lead teams, however, struggle to lead their lives with clarity.
Wow, that's a very good one. Very good. Good job. Just one small feedback there. In leaders as well, there are some hierarchy, right? Are they young leaders? Are they senior leaders? Are they directors? So if you can be a little more specific, depending on who your target market is, that'll get you more attention from your target audience. Yeah.
Sure, thank you.
Just a little bit more specificity in terms of which kind of leaders. Okay. So for everybody in the chat, at the moment, I'll keep it there and we can come back to this during the Q&A if anybody has a question. So please ask me during the Q&A. Okay, very good. So let's proceed and go to the next part. So once you have your speaker profile ready, and by the way, this is going to take some time for you to complete it. In fact, in the post work after the masterclass, I've outlined 5 things for you. One thing to do every single day to complete your profile. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the profile right now. We'll do that in the post work. Second, the immediate thing to do is to look at your existing network and identify 3 people who have access to your target audience. Let me explain what I mean by that. So in my story, I was talking about my mentor who was a coach trainer, right? So I never planned on coming into the niche of helping coaches or to get clients. It just happened as a result of my previous experience. So reaching out to him first and discussing with him was a great way for me to open up into this market. And I was able to do that with a few other people down the line. So what I'd like you to do is think about 3 people who have access to your target audience. Let's say, going back to the leadership coach niche, if you're a leadership coach, one of the person who can help you could be if you have somebody who is an HR manager or a training manager in a company, they know a group of people, perhaps their staff members who could be a potential clients. So one of the ways for you would be to approach them and say, hey, I would like to do a 1-hour free session or a 90-minute session for your employees on ABC topic. So in the beginning of your speaking career, you have to do a lot of free speaking and then eventually you'll get paid for it. Okay. So that's the second action step. And ladies and gentlemen, this is actually the oldest and the most powerful method to immediately get speaking engagements. And the reason is because oftentimes we don't look at what is in front of us, right? Unconsciously, most of us are wired to look at what's wrong and not what's available in front of us. So I promise you, if you look at your immediate network, you will have people who either know your target audience or have access to a group of people who fit your target audience. So start from there. This is the easiest place for you to get started. Okay. So that was step number 1, make yourself worthy, which is your profile and the other things that come with it. If that is clear to you, put yes in the chat. If the step 1 is clear to you, okay, very good. All right, so let's go to step 2. Step 2 is identify opportunities. Jesse, you have a question? Let's quickly do that.
Speaker profile, where do we put it? We can create one.
Yeah, I'll answer that at the end. So please come back to me with this question at the end. Let's complete this. Okay. So step 2, identify opportunities. So if you look at this picture on the right side, you see a big boarding, right? So this was the Soroptimist International Club in Bangkok when I used to live there from 2016 to 2020. One of the things in the early part of my speaking career, what I did was I one day just randomly went to the internet and I was just searching guest speaker opportunities Bangkok. And I was going through a bunch of different things. And I found this nonprofit organization, which is called Soroptimist Club. And what they do is they empower women with their mindset to take charge of their destiny, etc. So that is their space. So I understood that these people bring in guest speakers every fortnight. And I found the number of the lady who was in charge of arranging speakers. And I called her up and I introduced myself and I said, I'm a certified coach, I'm a trainer. I would like to be your guest speaker. And she asked me a bunch of questions. She told me to send her an email with my profile and all of that. And about 2-3 weeks later, she came back to me and she agreed to have me as one of their speakers. Now, the interesting thing about this is a very small space. There are no hundreds of people. There are a few, maybe about 20 people in this event. But the interesting thing is I met a lady there who runs her own firm, a small company, and she asked me to come and do a speaking gig for their audience a bit later. So now the reason I'm talking about this with you is when it comes to looking at opportunities online, there is a formula in place. Okay. And there's no rocket science with this. Anyone can do this. And in fact, I will prove it to you right now. Before I show you this, I'll tell you a quick story behind how I understood this formula. So when I used to work with this company, I had a colleague who was always at the top in terms of the sales, total sales made. And this guy was not an extrovert. He's not a charismatic speaker or anything like that, but he was just so diligent. He would make calls and have a lot of prospects. So one day I asked him, his name was Sanu. So one day I asked him, hey, Sanu, how come you get a lot of prospects? We all struggle to find prospective clients. So he told me something and he gave me like a 3-step formula when it comes to identifying prospects online and so that you can reach out to them. So the same formula can be applied when it comes to getting speaking engagements. And here's how it works. Your niche plus conference plus location plus year. So I will prove it to you right now. 1 minute. Shivani, can you see my Google?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let's just say we are looking at leadership conference. And for instance, I'm going to choose Dubai. Okay. So when you search like this, your niche, leadership, conference or seminar, location, and the year, what you will see is you will see a lot of these links. Okay. So the dates. So let's click on this, for example. So then the website opens up. And a lot of times this looks like a high profile seminar or a workshop, but it's okay for you to still understand how this works, right? So oftentimes, if you just scroll down, what you will see is you will see a button that says apply as a speaker, apply to become a speaker. And there will be a form there and that will show you what are the information they're looking for. Okay, so if there is no apply as a speaker, what you can do is look at the contact. So go here and look at contact us. And you will have an email address here, write to us. Okay, so one of the things you can do is you can reach out to them and say that, dear, ABC name, I found your website, I found the conference website on the internet, and I'm curious to know what is your criteria to select a speaker. Not can I be a speaker, because you haven't established your value yet, right? So you have to ask, what is your criteria to select a speaker? And most of the time they respond because they're always looking for speakers. And they'll tell you we're looking for a speaker who has this, this, and this. And then you can send your application in alignment with what they're looking for. So this will take a while. It's not an overnight thing. It will take a few days or a few months even sometimes. So then you have a chance to at least apply for it and see if you can get selected. Okay, so this is the formula I wanted to share with you guys. Do you like it? Yeah, awesome. All right. So one important thing to do is to review the information before you apply. What do I mean by that? You might have heard about people talking about branding, right? So in my opinion, branding comes down to one major word, and that is alignment. So everything that you're doing, everywhere that you're speaking, has to be aligned with the work that you're doing. So if you're a relationship coach, it doesn't really make sense for you to apply to a leadership conference, right? So don't be desperate about it. Just look for opportunities that align with your personal brand, what you stand for, and then you apply. Because then those opportunities will increase your brand value when you're spoken at events which are related to your niche. Okay, it's very important. Any questions here? Anyone? So David has a question. Is it a common practice to ask for a fee to be a guest speaker? Okay, so yeah, that's a good question, actually. I'll quickly answer that, David. So some of these conferences and events, they have a budget. So in that case, you can propose a fee, but a lot of these events won't pay you for speaking, but what they will do is they'll allow you to network with the people there, right? And sometimes they'll even give you access to the database depending on what kind of event they're doing. Or sometimes they'll ask you and they will say that you can actually pitch your product or your service at the end. So in fact, let me just quickly stop screen share and tell you something very important. How many of you would like to know the 3 types of speakers? There are mainly 3 types of speakers. I've not put information about that in the slide. It just came up. How many of you would like to know? If I get an overwhelming number of yes, then I'll answer it. Otherwise, I'll skip it. Okay. Okay, a lot of people want to know. Okay, all right, good. I'll answer them. So type 1 speaker is like a keynote speaker where you are paid to do a keynote speech, right? Or a closing speech, something like that. Second type of speaker are the ones who get paid the least. So stay away from them and don't be one of them. Second type of speaker are like a subject matter expert who's like a university professor, right? So it is okay to do it, but make sure a lot of your speaking gigs are not in that area. The third type of speakers are the ones who make the most money and who make the most clients and is most difficult to do. And that is, you are not paid to speak, but you are allowed to either sell your program at the end of the speaking engagement, or you are allowed to, like talk to the people there and you can follow up with them later and talk to them after the speaking gig and then convert them into clients. So my invitation for all of you is, even though the third one is the most difficult, make it a point to put in some effort to become one of the third speakers. And that doesn't mean that you can be only one type of speaker. It's just that if you learn how to do that, it'll be much easier for you. So, I mean, in a way, what I'm doing right now is very similar, right? So CJ is not paying me anything to do this. But if a lot of you find it valuable, you're going to reach out to me, right? And then I'll send you as a client. So those are the 3 types of speakers. Michelle, yes, quickly, let's go to the question. What is the question?
It's just to follow up on the previous question, because I think they, if I understand correctly, they were thinking the same as I was, which is I've been invited to be a speaker, and then I've been told that I need to pay to be the speaker. So it was whether or not that's common practice.
Yeah. So let me tell you something. In my opinion, it is not a common practice. However, there are a lot of these scammers out there. A couple of years ago, I got a message on LinkedIn, and the headline was very interesting, right? Congratulations, you've won an award. I'm like, I didn't know that I was so awesome. And it was very interesting because I wanted to read it. And they were like, you're presented with some random leadership award. I'm like, I'm not even in a leadership space. How come they're giving me this award? And there was this lady, and I messaged her back, and I said, so tell me more about this. She's like, let's connect on a call. So every time I ask her a question, she's like, let's connect on a call. And I asked her this question, let me clarify this. Do I need to pay you anything for this award? And then she said, yes, there's a small fee involved in it. So it sounded to me like one of those paid Bollywood award shows, It's just nonsense. So then I understood this was a scam, and a good friend of mine who was based in Germany also had a very similar experience from the very same conference. So if they're asking you to pay to be a speaker, my opinion is to stay away from it. And if you're getting invitations to speak, the first thing to do is to go and do some research about the conference, find out the history of the conference, look at their website, their YouTube, their LinkedIn, because a lot of these, they have their LinkedIn page, right? And if you are convinced, then you can make a decision. Okay. All right. So I'm going to continue. We are running out of time. So the third one, reaching out to decision makers and applying. So let me tell you another quick story. How many of you heard about American Board of NLP, ABNLP? Okay, some of you know. So just like ICF is one of probably the top in the world of coaching, American Board of NLP is on the top in terms of the certifying body to become an NLP practitioner, master practitioner, trainer, master trainer. So the 2 gentlemen there, the one wearing the black suit, so he worked as a COO with the founders of ABNLP for about 19 years. So I've been connected with them for a few years. And a few months ago, I noticed that they were doing these podcasts where they're bringing in really experienced coaches and trainers from around the world, and they're basically interviewing them, and then they publish it to their audience. So, and we are also allowed to make an offer at the end of it. We can talk about our programs, etc. So because I had a decent relationship with him, I was just curious, and I was like, what if I can be one of the speakers? I had no idea. So sent him a message. So this is the real screenshot of it. There are a lot of words, but I will draw your attention to the last line here. Just out of curiosity, what is the criteria you look at before inviting a guest? And to be honest with you, my objective was to actually ask him, hey, can I be a speaker? But I didn't ask him directly. I just asked, what's the criteria? So interestingly, he replied and he said, you are very welcome to be one of our speakers. You know, I feel you're established, etc., etc. So a couple of months later, we did the podcast, and the picture that you see here is actually from the podcast after they published it. And now I'm actually working on building a business collaboration with them. They're based in Australia, but they have clients globally. So this is also another thing for all of you to take notice. If you find thought leaders in your industry, work on building a relationship with them, because a lot of them have podcasts. And that is also a speaking opportunity, right? And your name and your profile is going to be up there. So it's very important that, you pay attention to this. So the action step, look for industry leaders in your niche who invite guest speakers in their show. A lot of these people do that. Now, some of you might be thinking, hey, but what if, how do I know whether they'll take me or not? What qualifies me? Some of you might have these kind of questions. So what you do is, once you identify these people, you hit the bell icon and you follow all of them. Just, every time they post, you need to get a notification, and it's not that difficult to do that. So become a top contributor and cheerleader for them. What that means is, every time they put out a post, you invest some time in actually reading it or watching the video, and you leave a nice comment, which is a value addition, like a value addition. So what I mean by a nice comment is not things like I agree or that 100, there's a symbol, right? So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about writing a comment which is valuable. To give an example, let's say they talked about 3 steps to become an outstanding leader, something like that. So you read the post and you mention something specific from it. For example, you can say that, hey, Shama, for example, I liked your post and I like the second point the most because in my experience, da 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 da. So you add something from your experience, right? And all of you here have a lot of experience in your field. So add something of value, because those kind of comments, right, that is also a way to get attention. So I always say to my clients, and every time I do a session, before somebody pays you money for coaching, they need to pay you one thing. What's that? Attention. So this is all different ways for you to gain attention, right? People decide to hire you not necessarily based out of your PCC or your MCC or ACC credential. They need to pay attention first, and then they'll decide whether or not they want to work with you. Okay. So do it for at least a month, be consistent with it. Actually make an Excel spreadsheet, make a list of maybe 10 of these people in your industry, and do it for at least a month. And once you reach a point where you're doing it every single day, then you can reach out one day and you can ask them, what is the criteria, right? So you can say something like, hey, Kenneth, I've been following you for a while. I love what you do. I'm just curious to know, what do you look for when you select a speaker? And most of the time they reply. And if they don't, that's okay. You're going to have to face rejection anyway in this industry. So just keep going and then go to the next person. And then you apply based on the criteria. Okay. All right. Good. Clear so far? Okay. So let me quickly tell you another story. And this is related to my dream to speak at TEDx. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm actually one step closer. So to tell you the story, a couple of months ago, something amazing happened. My wife's, one of the contacts, he was doing a speech in TEDx. And he happened to send her the video, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. I would like to speak on TEDx, but I have no clue what to do. So what I did was I went online. In fact, let me just show you that so that you understand the process. So here is what I did when I saw this guy speaking in TEDx. So I went and searched TEDx Goa because I'm based in Goa. So I found out that the TEDx Margao, which is a South Goa edition, they have a website, and I was just scrolling and I found out the organizer. So I clicked on this person's profile, and guess what happened? Okay, Google is still buffering. Sometimes when you want it to work fast, it will be horrible, right? Okay, there you go. Technical difficulties. So anyway, so what happened? Okay, now it works. So I was able to find this person's LinkedIn. Okay, when I clicked on that, and I immediately sent him a connection request. And I said, hi, Ravi, I noticed that you're the organizer of TEDx. I wanted to connect with you. I didn't say I want to be a speaker. I just said, I want to connect with you. Okay. So then he replied to my message, thankfully. And a couple of days later, I saw his post about a speaker invitation for a different event called Pecha Kucha. Anyone here familiar with Pecha Kucha? So for those of you who don't know, Pecha Kucha it's a Japanese word basically, and it stands for chit chat. So it's a type of presentation where every speaker is given 6 minutes, 40 seconds, and you're allowed to use only 20 slides and 20 seconds for each slide. And the slides will change automatically in the background. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I've never done anything like this before. So I applied to be one of the speakers. And I also thought, this is the same person who's organizing TEDx in Goa. So it'll give me a chance to meet with him and build a relationship, right? So then I asked him and the same question, but in a different way. What details are required when I submit my speaker application? This is very similar to the question, what is the criteria, right? So he said, send me a short synopsis, and we're not going to pay you for the travel, etc. So I said, no problem. I live in Goa. I applied for it, and I got selected to be one of the speakers in Pecha Kucha. Okay. Now, I'll go back to my slide right now. So I made the presentation at Pecha Kucha. And interestingly, we had about 9 speakers in the event. And I met a woman who was a psychologist and I think she's a psychologist, social worker, etc. And she is apparently a TEDx speaker. So I got a chance to ask her about everything that I wanted to know about how to get a TEDx opportunity, how do you apply, all of that. So you understand, right? I'm talking about 2 things here. Identify what do you want exactly and how to search online to get it. And number 2, when you go to these events, you will find people who may have already achieved what you want to achieve. Okay? Make sense? If you like that story, put 1 in the chat. It's one of my favorite stories to talk about. Okay, all right, good. So here is what you can do. Okay, so that's the end of the step 3. So let me quickly talk about step 4, 5, and 6, and then we go to Q&A. So this is a picture of one of the masterclasses I did for the ICF Singapore chapter a couple of years ago. So step 4, the focus is to deliver a compelling presentation. So like I said, the first 3 steps is everything about identifying opportunities and applying for it. The last 3 steps is about actually delivering it and getting leads and converting. So, I mean, we don't have enough time to talk about how to make a compelling presentation, but I will still give you some details on how to make it compelling. So one of the ladies who were involved in there reached out to me and, I was able to make an offer to her. So this is what will happen if you make a very compelling presentation. Okay. So I'll give you some pointers on how to make your presentation compelling. Number 1, have a clear structure for your presentation. Okay. So what I mean by have a clear structure, so think about it this way. How many of you heard about Toastmasters? It's pretty familiar. A lot of you might know. So when I was in Toastmasters many years ago, I was active for 1 year. I learned a lot. So one of my mentors told me that when you start writing a presentation or a speech, you start with the end in mind. Meaning, at the end of the presentation, what do you want your audience to take away from the presentation? So you write that in 1 sentence. And then you build everything from there. So the same thing for all of you. If you want to give a presentation, you should write what is the takeaway, and then you build the presentation from there. So there are a few things that needs to be included in your presentation. One, what is the backstory? What is your backstory that is relevant to your target audience? So in the beginning of this session, I told you my backstory of why I'm doing this masterclass, right? So when you're speaking to your audience, your target audience, you have to tell them your backstory so that people know where you're coming from and people can relate with you. And it'll make you, basically make you more qualified to speak about that. Okay. So clear so far? Can I go to the next part? Give me a thumbs up if that's okay. All right, good. Next, what problems can you help them solve? Okay, this is the major one. I'll stop screen share and I'll tell you something. How many of you will believe me if I tell you that people never pay for coaching? Yeah. But people do pay for something, right? And what is that? That's results. So remember one thing, no matter what your credential is, people are not going to pay you just for the coaching. They're paying for the results you can help them achieve through coaching. There's a difference, okay? So one of the mistakes which I made as well, a lot of people make, is when you're talking to potential clients or you're talking to your audience on stage, online or offline, a lot of people try to convince people why coaching is amazing. And this, in my opinion, is a mistake, because as coaches, we love it, right? But we can't expect other people to love it. So the thing is, we have to find a way to present the results you can help your target market achieve through coaching. So it's almost like this. Imagine you have, a river, and on one side of the river, your clients are standing, they have their problems, they have their insecurities, etc. And on the other side of the river is the life and the career that they always want. So your coaching is like that bridge, and they don't know how to make that bridge, but you're actually helping them do that, right? So that's what I want all of you to understand. Never focus too much on selling the concept of coaching. Focus on the results you can help them achieve through coaching. Okay, that's the most important thing when it comes to influencing and persuading people. Okay, so what problems can you solve? So look at, I would say, 3 to 5 major problems that you can help people solve through coaching. This I'll come to you in a minute. So the last one is, what is your framework or process to help them get there? So what this means is, when it comes to talking about your coaching in the business angle, you need to have frameworks and processes. And the reason for that is because it makes it easy, number one, for you to present it so that you don't go all over the place. Number two, it makes it easy for the person listening to you so that they understand, okay, this is what I should do first. This is what I should do second. I know that ICF says that you cannot have, a set process. I respect that. At the same time, when it comes to marketing and presenting, we have to show people the journey. Some of you might be familiar with the term, the customer journey, and it's no different for us coaches. So even though you may not know every single step, you still need to have some kind of direction. People need to understand, okay, this is what the journey looks like. They don't know that. You will know it to some extent. I'll give an example. So in fact, I need a volunteer, and I'll ask you a question first, and I need one person to answer this. So the question is, what does a person's transformation look like? Let's say if you were to tell me 3 things that happen during a person's transformation, what would be those 3 things? Any volunteers? Anyone? Sheetal, yes, go ahead, please.
I think I would see some tiny shifts
Yeah.
where they were stuck and they are unstuck. Secondly, I would see them actioning the actions which they have committed to. They would have moved, from session 1 when they are committing. There is some movement which is there. And obviously, the body language in the session, sometimes when those shifts happen in the session, there is a lot of aha moments which are there. So this is based on my experience.
Okay, thank you, Sheetal, for sharing that. Let's give her a hand, everybody. I always appreciate people who come forward and share because, none of us are perfect. We are all a work in progress. So please feel free to share. Anyone else? I'd like to have one more person to share. I saw someone raising their hand earlier. Sunil, yes, please go ahead, please.
Yeah, so from my perspective, a transformation is one, there is a person who wants to transform, so there is a goal in mind, and they're willing to take action, and they know what steps they can take. So which means there is a roadmap that's in place, and they're completely committed to taking that journey. That's how the transformation will happen.
Yeah, I agree. Give him a hand. So, okay, let me just rephrase my question so everybody understands it better, right? Imagine you're talking to a prospective client and he or she has no clue how to make that transformation, whatever transformation that is, right? When you're talking to them in the discovery call, we need to give them some kind of direction, like, okay, this is the path, this is what the path looks like. And I'll give you one of the frameworks that I've learned in my experience. It's a 3-step process. One is state, which is your emotional state. So if you've learned NLP, you understand what I mean. If you've not learned NLP, that's okay. What I'm talking about is everything that we do, right? We all live, as humans, we live in certain emotional states from moment to moment. Your emotional state basically means how you feel. So one of the important aspects of transformation is to take control of your emotional state. Make sense? Second is you need to take control of your behavior, which means the actions you take so that they can follow the action plan, do the work, etc. And that last part of it is the results and the feedback. Meaning, sometimes even when you take the action, you may not get the result that you want, but you'll still make some progress, right? So this is where the feedback element comes in. So this is just one way. I'm not claiming that this is the only way. This is one of the ways to help people understand. These are 3 things that you need to care for in terms of transforming. So let me summarize it and make it simple for all of you to understand. It's important to have some kind of process related to your work, whatever type of coaching that you do, so that people understand the direction and the value that they will get if they decide to work with you. If we randomly keep mumbling about coaching and how coaching works, you don't need me to tell you what happens, right? If you've done it, you know what happens. So, and unfortunately, a lot of people have made coaches believe that, oh, it's because, people don't want to pay for coaching. Nonsense. It's not like that. Because we need to do a better job at presenting what we do. So if you are able to make coaching relevant for their problem, then the chances of them signing up will be much higher. Okay. So let's continue and look at the next 2 parts. All right, quickly, I'll finish this in 5 minutes and then we go for Q&A. So early last year, I was invited to an international conference in Cairo, Egypt. And one of the interesting things that happened there was I met this gentleman who is wearing the white shirt. So he is on the board of professional coaches and mentors in Russia and London. So he was one of the speakers there and I had a chance to network with him. So after the conference was over, I got his contact information, got the business card, etc. And I scheduled a one-on-one call with him. And then we talked about a few things. He spoke about his experience. He's a PCC, by the way. And I got to know that in Russia, they do a podcast where they bring in industry experts in different areas and they do an interview. And then they translate that interview into the local language, the Russian language. So after about 6-7 months after the conference, he invited me to do that. And then he interviewed me and the interview was translated into Russian language. So why am I talking about this? When you're in those events, here are the action steps for you to do, okay? Old school, collect business cards or their contacts of as many people as possible at the event. And the second one is very interesting. I unconsciously did it for the first time, but now I understand it works really well. Second one, send them a PDF copy of your presentation. Check with the organizer if that is okay. So you can mention to the organizer, hey, I'd like to send the people who contact me, like, give me the business cards, a copy of my presentation and say, thank you for attending the event. Is that okay? So what happens when you do that is, number one, you're establishing a personal connection with everybody that you connected. Because if you're going to just go walking around exchanging cards, people are going to forget about you, right? And very few people take the time, invest the time necessary to send that PDF copy of your presentation. And you will be surprised how many people reply to that and they might want to have a conversation with you, right? And this will open up more avenues for conversations. And the more conversations you have, the more conversions you will get, provided you know how to convert. I'll come to that in a bit, okay? So what you do is you look at these business cards and you identify the prospective clients or partners. Not everybody might be a fit for you. So just walk through go through the cards and look at who are the people who have most chances of either becoming a client, giving you a speaking gig, or becoming a partner, okay? Schedule a one-on-one call with them. Now, I want to share with all of you a mistake that you should absolutely avoid. How many of you want to know about that? If you want to know about that, put your hand up. Okay, so you want to know. So the mistake is when you reach out to these people, right? Never ever discuss a collaboration on chat. Never do that. You should always, the objective of your chat is only one thing, to get a discovery call with them. Simple. You're not going to tell how great you are. Don't do any of that thing. Just say, hey, can you have a conversation? And in the conversation, you put on your curiosity hat. You ask them more about their work, their business, their clients. And if that is in alignment with what you provide, then you propose a partnership, or then you offer your service depending on who you're talking to. So always talk about these kind of things in a call with people. Never randomly do it on a chat. Okay. So I thought it's important to share that. Last step, converting them into paying clients. So this can be like a 6 months program in itself, but I'll just share a few pointers for all of you to understand. So in a discovery call, right, we are, as ICF trained coaches, we are told that we should do discovery calls, right? But the problem is that we unconsciously become too passionate and we solve all the problems in the discovery call. And then at the end of it, people don't want to hire us. Anyone been in that, have that experience before? Anyone? Okay, some of them. So I have had this same experience. So what my mentor told me was that don't solve all their problems in the discovery call. The purpose of the discovery call is not to solve their problem. The purpose of the discovery call is to coach them only until they become aware of the root cause of the problem. Make sense? So when you're doing the coaching, there will be some point when you and the client understand, okay, this is the root cause, right? So in the discovery call, you're only supposed to do that if you want to convert them, okay? If you want to do it as charity, then that's fine. You can go ahead. But if you want to convert them, you should stop the coaching when you reach this point. And what you do is, at this point, you make a transition from coaching into presenting your compelling offer. I think, Kenneth, if you remember, the first masterclass we did was in the area of creating your coaching package. So I spoke extensively about creating a compelling offer in that masterclass. So just to come back to today, you make a transition from coaching into presenting your offer, which you ask a question, a simple question, which is, oh, by the way, based on the conversation we had so far, would you be open to working with me? I'm a coach, I'm so-and-so certified, and I can help you with overcoming your problems. Are you open to exploring that, right? And then if you do a good job in the discovery call, they always say yes. You still don't know if they're going to sign up, but you have more chances at least, okay? So you make your offer and you discuss the payment terms and close the deal. So what I mean by this is you should always have two kinds of payment options. One is payment in full, and the other one is an EMI, depending on how much you charge. So if people pay in full, you can give them a small discount, 5 to 10%. If they want to do a payment plan, then that's fine. You can give them the flexibility, but no discount, okay? All right, good. So I'll give you a bonus tip. In order to make all of this happen faster, you need to have a few things in place. If you have it, you will make this happen faster. If you don't have it, no problem. Focus on doing these things first before you apply as a speaker. Number one, build your authority on at least one platform, ideally LinkedIn. Okay, because I mean, you don't need me to tell you how important social media presence is. So if you're not active on LinkedIn and if your clients are on LinkedIn, I would highly recommend at least post 3 times in a week, the content related to how you can help them, etc. So you need to have authority in at least one area, in my opinion. Second, pictures that demonstrate your work. So if you have done any kind of coaching, group coaching, team coaching, training, speaking in any event, BNI, Toastmasters, whatever that might be, collect all of them. And in the beginning of the presentation, I showed you some pictures about the work, right? So there's an age-old saying, right? A picture is worth 1,000 words, something like that. So that's very effective. So if you don't have pictures, I know some of you are thinking, oh, but I don't have any pictures. What do I do? So if you don't have any pictures, you start documenting them. So documenting your journey is the best way to create content and to tell your story to your prospective clients. Okay. So if you have not collected testimonials from clients, please do that. And also one more quick tip here. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, if you have not connected yet, I would love to connect with you. Please go to the featured section in my profile. There is a post which is called 3 questions to ask to get amazing client testimonials. So you ask your clients, just read the post, you will understand what I'm talking about. It'll help you get really good testimonials. And endorsements from authority figures. So if you know someone who is, let's say, 5, 10 years or even more experienced than you, get them to say something nice about you. And the endorsements will actually open up many more doors for you in the long term. Okay. Everything I'm talking about today, there's no magic pill. It'll require work, but when you do it, you'll actually see results. Okay, so let me quickly summarize the 6-step process. Number 1, make yourself worthy, identify opportunities, reach out to decision makers and apply. Number 4, deliver a compelling presentation. Number 5, identify prospects and follow up, convert them into paying clients. So this is the summary. And I made 3 promises to all of you in the beginning of the presentation. And those were the oldest and most powerful method to get selected as a speaker. How to find events related to your target market in less than 10 minutes, and the A to Z of the speaker application process, which are the 6 steps. So if you believe I kept my promises, put a big yes in the chat. If you believe that. If you don't believe it, then you don't have to do anything. All right. Okay, good. Thank you for your support, everybody. All right. So let me quickly summarize what is the post work. So the way it works is we in the sense, me, Shivani, and Kenneth, and everybody with the CJ team have decided to give you a little bit more value. And the way it works is I've found out 5 distinct works, 5 distinct action steps for all of you to do. And we're going to be creating a WhatsApp group for that as well. So the work that you need to do is on day 1, write 3 different hooks related to your target market. You will have my feedback. In fact, Shivani will explain how this works. You will have my feedback for about half an hour in the next 5 days. Day number 2, create your bio. And a few things for you to keep in mind here. Make sure you talk about the years of experience in helping your target market, your core belief, your signature programs, clients from how many countries, if you have worked with global clients, and the results. So I'll explain what I mean by this. Going back to my speaker bio very quickly. So this is my bio, okay? So if you look here, I have mentioned a few things, right? How many years of experience? I need to update this, it's 7 years now. So if you mention how many years, it shows your credibility in that area, okay? Your target market, in my case, it is coaches and trainers. So you can mention senior leaders, homemakers, whatever that might be. And what is your core belief? And I believe that it's very important to tell people what your core belief is. So my belief is that coaches and trainers are agents of change because we are called to serve people for a higher purpose, right? So what is your core belief related to your target market? And if you have any signature program, you can mention that. If you don't have it, just leave it out. And if you have worked with global clients, you can mention that. And last part, the results. What are the results to help them achieve, right? So in my case, it's helping them to monetize their coaching and training skills. So coming back to the post work. Oops, okay. We will have about 20 minutes for Q&A. So the day number 3 is be clear about 5 major pain points that you can help people solve. In fact, Shivani, I have an idea. I can share with you my speaker profile and you can send it to people because it'll give them a reference point to create their own profile, right? To have a model at least. So 3 to 5 pain points you can help people solve. Number 4, clarify your sub niche within the niche. And what I mean by that is if you, let's say in leadership, can you be more specific about who are the kind of leaders you help? For example, let's say the leaders who have 15 years of experience, but struggle with communication. Leaders who have very good subject knowledge, but don't know how to present it properly. Something like that. So this is a sub niche within your niche. Okay. I know it's a little bit more complicated, but if you just put in some time, you'll understand it better. Last day, you complete your speaker profile and get my feedback. You will have to put it in the group and I'll give you my feedback on it. So the entire post work is designed to help you do only one thing, to complete your profile. And everything else I've talked about in the masterclass, you'll get the recording as well. And then you're basically ready to go and apply. So a quick pro tip on the pre-work. How many of you saw the video where I sent about the pre-work? If you've seen that video, please put your hand up. If you haven't, it's okay. Okay, all right. So I sent a pre-work, a 10-minute video where I spoke about one unique concept, which is called the unique relatability building points, URBs. So this is basically to enhance and fast track your rapport building and trust building with the person or the people that you are talking to. So you can use them in, depending on the person standing opposite you. So customize them according to the person you're speaking to, and it'll give them better results. You can use them while talking to prospective clients and decision makers. So the URBs, it's not restricted to only your speaking engagements. You can use it in your discovery calls as well. That's why I mentioned prospective clients and decision makers. Okay. So there is a special bonus for everybody who stayed until the end. So I think so far nobody has left, which is great. Would you like to have a special bonus? If you'd like to have that, say yes. Only for people who say yes, I'll give it. Okay, all right. So the bonus is a 1-page document. It's a PDF document which outlines, it's 7, not 8. 7 different and proven ways to land speaking opportunities. And this will be delivered to your email address by Shivani and team. And the reason I wanted to send this out is when you're in a masterclass like this, is a lot of information, right? It's easy to have a brain fade. So what I did was I put all of the main things into a 1-page document, I think 2-page document, and you will have the different opportunities, how to apply, how to access them, etc. there. This is like a 2-page summary of the entire masterclass. Okay, so I'll share that with Shivani and she will send it to you. So now we are ready for questions. Oh, by the way, Shivani, can I request something, please?
Yes.
One of the things I've noticed is for some reason, some people leave when we start the Q&A. So can we do a group picture now and then we can start the Q&A?
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Okay, so everybody please turn on your cameras. We'd love to take a group picture. And you're going to do it, Shivani?
Yes.
Okay, great. So tell me when it's ready.
Okay, I can see people smiling. It's very nice.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give it 10 more seconds to
Okay.
see if somebody else wants to come on camera and be part of the picture.
Yeah, if you want to get more speaking opportunities, come on the camera.
Okay, everybody smile. Okay, keep smiling. There are 2 screens. Okay, smile. Perfect. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Brilliant.
Before I hand over the floor to Aki to answer questions, I also want to talk about the post work. So some of you would be aware of the workshop that we conducted back in February with Debashi around LinkedIn. And that particular model really worked because we had combined learning as well as the action together, which is what Kenneth also, wanted to do for this workshop. So that is why we have the post work. And how it will work is we will be sending an email today or tomorrow morning with the 2 documents that Aki mentioned, which is one is the consolidated document about what the masterclass was, plus his speaker profile for inspiration via email. And I will also be sending you a link to join the WhatsApp group. The WhatsApp group will be admin only for the most part of the day, but will be opened for all of you to ask your questions, share any insights or any resources that you came across with the other members from 8:30 to 9 p.m. for the next 5 days, right? So each day has been divided into one task. So you work on that for the whole day, and at 8:30 to 9, you can share it. You can share any new insights that showed up, something that helped you. Like I saw in the chat, Fatima sharing that there's a Canva template. So feel free to share. And Aki will give you feedback and will be available to all of you during that half an hour for the next 5 days. Yeah. Perfect. All yours, Aki.
Thank you, Shivani. Okay, so there are a bunch of questions, right? Well, should we begin with the chat, the questions? In fact, for everybody who put your questions in the chat, I'm sorry, there's a lot of information there. If you can turn on your cameras, Sheetal, yes, go for it.
My voice would crack if I switch on the camera. I switched it on when my mouth was shut for the photo. So excuse me for that. And the question, I have a twofold question. One is related to the speaking gig part of it, and the other is more towards the administrative part for WhatsApp. And I'll take the first one first. Usually when I have speaking engagements, people come with abrupt things. Okay, we want you to talk on motivation. Now, it is relatively easy when, you are my direct client, I can ask you questions. But when the aggregator is in between, they will just say, this is the budget, this is this thing. And it's anyways a 1 hour thing. What questions you have, put something, you're a facilitator for 15 plus years, go ahead. It becomes difficult for me how to concise the content. And typically for something like motivation, which is very, very generic. So how would you go about, addressing this?
Very good question. Thank you for asking this. So, first of all, when the organizer approaches like this, you can first, if you want to go ahead with it, just say, okay, thank you for this. I will definitely do this. So just get a yes. And you can tell them, also, I want to make sure that the people attending this get a lot of value. So is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions? Right? And most of the time they say yes. And in my experience, there are 2 questions that are very valuable. Number 1 is, who are the people attending? This is another way to ask, who is the target audience, right? So you want to know the audience. So I remember back in 2017, when I attended one of the International Toastmasters conference, I went to speak to one of the speakers who I was very impressed by. And I asked her, hey, do you have any advice for me? I'd like to, build a career in this industry. The first question she asked me was, who's your audience? So that's always the first question. Who are the people attending? Okay. Second question is, what are, let's say, 3 to 5 pain points they have? So, for example, if they are students, some of their pain points could be, like managing their relationship with their parents better, or studying at the same time, having their sports activities going, whatever that might be, right? So depending on the 3 to 5 pain points, then you can build your content around that. So where is it that they struggle when it comes to having motivation? Is it to study? Is it to go and do a debate, whatever that might be? So this is what I would say. This is pretty deep question, but I hope I answered at least the first part of it.
Yeah, I'm just going to take 2 minutes more. See, there would be paid or unpaid engagements where they just need a speaker, right? They need a speaker with good experience. They want to showcase credentials and they've got someone over there. Sometimes it is just to fill a spot, and the questions which we normally ask for facilitation is what you've shared. But then when they themselves know what the goalpost is, that's when you get answers is that, oh, kar do, just get it done types, and you don't want to lose the opportunity, so you say yes. But I struggle to, because largely I am like, okay, you tell me what you want, then I diagnose, and then I will create content or facilitate the session. So when it's so generic, how would you have handles on how to do it?
Yeah, so one of the things that I found works really well is you can have a standard slide deck. What that means is, let's say if you're a motivational speaker, then you can say motivational speech session, workshop, whatever, for students. And then you make content only for that. Motivational session for senior leaders, and then you make content only for that. So when you're talking to these people, right, you can show the existing content. Like I'm saying, have a standard content in place so that people know what you have available. And it doesn't take you more than 5 minutes to quickly show people, okay, I have this, I have this, I have this. So I would say about, if your audience is so broad, perhaps you can have at least 3 different options, motivational sessions for 3 different audience. And then you ask them, okay, which one of these is the best for you? If they still say aap kar do, then the problem is not about the content, the problem is the quality of the opportunity. Then what I would recommend is you continue with it if you're getting paid for it. And on the side, you also look for opportunities where the conference or the event has much more standard, and they'll be able to answer these questions. That's what I would say.
Sure, thanks. This helps. And the second part is the WhatsApp group, which Shivani is going to create. I was curious that, I mean, I'm not sure whether everything needs to be done in 5 days. Are there timelines, or one can take their own pace? That was my final question. Thank you.
You can take your own pace, but I'll be available only for 5 days.
Okay.
So...
Okay. Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, good. I think Shivani, you have a question. Your hand is up.
I'll allow Meera to go first.
Yes, Meera, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Aki, for giving me a chance to. Okay, I have a
Welcome.
question. The first would be, what steps would help me to create a speaker profile when, first point is, I have just started into the coaching world and I've just entered a cancer coaching program. 2 is, years of experience is less than 1. 3, I'm not into any leadership roles. And 4, I'm just trying to build my LinkedIn profile, creating the content around emotional healing and cancer recovery, post-cancer.
Okay.
So where do I go from here? Because I see the path very dark in terms of building a clientele and building a base, to present yourself.
Yeah. So there are 4 different questions in this, right? So let me just start with the first one. Obviously, I can't remember all 4 of them, so I might ask you again. So I will start with you not having enough, like 1 year, less than 1 year experience,
Yes.
right? So what I would say is, if you have less than 1 year of experience, you leave the number of experience years, like leave it from your profile. You say, you start with your credentials, like Meera Naidu, I am certified in so-and-so, and I'm passionate about serving cancer patients, right? So you go to the target market directly. So this is for everybody. So if you don't have some of the aspects that I've mentioned in the post work, let's say the number of years of experience or global client, if you don't have any of them, just leave out what you don't have. Focus on what you have, which is your credentials, the target market. And obviously you might have worked with somebody, right? At least at a pro bono level, and write about the results you helped them achieve. So start from there. What was the second question? Sorry.
Yeah. I've just started out as a coach, the cancer coaching program.
Right.
So I attend the ICF Singapore chapter, and I'm waiting to finish my exams and get the credentials so I can be part of the community for the social initiatives as a volunteer. That is my target audience.
So what is the question? You ended with your target audience.
I've just started out as a coach.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay.
and have started out into the cancer coaching certification.
Yeah. Okay.
Again,
Okay.
I'm a little nervous as I'm speaking.
Yeah, that's okay. That's normal. So when you say you started this certification, how close are you to finishing it?
6 months.
6 months. Okay. And when did you start the program?
I've just started now. Just
Okay.
started last week.
Okay. So let's say if I ask a question, let's say all of us here are your target audience, right? And if you get a chance to speak for 1 hour, and provided you have time to prepare for it, do you think you can give us value?
Yes.
Okay. So then you don't have to wait until you finish your program. So what I would recommend is, obviously there's a reason why you're inspired to do this, right? So tell us about the backstory quickly, in less than 1 minute. Tell us about the backstory. What makes you inspired to do this?
When I was diagnosed with cancer, I was very normal. And my journey started in 2018, and it's an ongoing journey because I may end up with having either blood or bone cancers. I'm very normal, and that is what I want to inspire others about. Because everywhere we see people, as soon as they're diagnosed with cancer, it is immediately an overwhelmed feeling, and they lose hope of the road, towards recovery. Everywhere, be it celebrities, be it ordinary people, they make a big issue out of it. Just a normalcy that you have around yourself. You go about your daily work. You're not a patient. As soon as you're diagnosed with cancer, you're a very normal person, but your endurance to pain will be tested at all levels.
Right. Okay.
That is the niche where I want to speak about and encourage women to manage and use their inner strength and resilience to just stay normal.
Okay. Okay. This is very inspiring. So this one of the and I want to speak to everybody when I'm talking about this. Many times you get a speaking opportunity not necessarily because of your credentials. It's because of your backstory in that particular area. Okay. So if you learn how to articulate your story, that will speak much, much louder than your credentials. So I heard one sentence which I thought was a really good hook, which is, as soon as people get diagnosed with cancer, they make a big fuss out of it. And this can actually be a good hook for you in your profile. Okay. So what I would tell you is, when you go through the post masterclass activity, focus on articulating your own story in that bio that you create about yourself. The first line could be, as a cancer survivor myself.
Okay.
And then you elaborate a little bit on how you dealt with it. Okay. Because in your niche, Meera, people really don't care about ICF credential or any other credential.
Yes.
They just want to get better.
Yes, that's it.
So you don't have to wait until you finish the program.
Okay.
I mean, after that, you can still apply for it, but you don't have to wait because you have somebody who's gone through that journey.
Myself.
Right? Exactly. So that qualifies you more than anything else. So I think you can get started with that, go through the activities, approach the right people, whether that might be hospitals or any groups associated with helping people recover, reach out to them, meet them face to face and tell them. And I think that'll open doors for you.
Thank you so much, Aki. That is really, really helpful.
You're
and
welcome.
I work on my nervousness.
That's going to be okay. It's just like a muscle. The more you practice it, the better it becomes. Okay, next question. We have 7 more minutes.
Okay, I had a question actually.
Yes.
And it was regarding, you spoke about how organizing your data or the information that you're kind of trying to provide is very important. And I see it today, you had 6 steps and you spoke about each of them separately. So how does one learn to do this? Like, do you have any recommendations on how to learn to, it's an art, I have come to realize, of, converting complex information and lots of data, which has no start, no end, to make it, step by step. And I think that's the muscle like you need to build, but how does one build that muscle? Do you have any?
Great question. So first of all, it is an art, but it's also a science. Okay. So when it's something is a science, it means it can be repeated, right? So I'll share a framework with everybody, which is, it's a 4-step framework. In fact, I'll just put it in the chat. It's called who, what, why, and how. Actually, so there's another step to make it more detailed. Story, who, what, why, how. So let me explain what that means. So do you remember in the beginning of the presentation, I shared a backstory? So when you're talking to potential clients or people who might give you a speaking gig, you want to start with the backstory. And the purpose of that is to tell them why you're doing this or what makes you qualified to do this. And ideally, keep it less than 1 minute. If you go with a 15-minute lengthy story, nobody's interested, okay? So make it less than 1 minute. So the way to think about it could be a classic scenario, before, during, and after. So tell them what happened before you were where you are right now, what are the challenges you went through, and during is about what did you learn, who helped you, what courses did you take, etc. And after is about where did you reach in that journey to this point. That's a story, okay? Now, coming to the next part is the why. So when you have a lot of information, for people to listen to you, right? They may not come from the same frame of mind that you are.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's important to mention to them why it is relevant for them. Not necessarily why you are important, but why is it relevant for them? So I'll give you one example. So in the beginning of the presentation, there was one slide where I talked about, I had 5 questions. And I asked everybody, what are your questions? Right? So that is one of the ways to kind of elicit the why. It's very important that you address it in the presentation so people have a context. Okay. So the what is kind of the core of your content. So what is mainly your strategy or your process? So in this case, it was my 6 steps process. That is the what. So what is it that I'm going to talk about, right? If I randomly talk about things, it's very difficult to keep people's attention, and there's no way people will stay until the end. So if you can think about this as a journey, right? What is the topic that you're talking about? And what is the journey for somebody to go from where they are to get to that result? So think about it like, like you're a PCC, right? So when you started your ICF journey, you must have started with the level 1 or the ACSDH, whatever that was. And then you got your PCC, and some people go for ACC and then PCC. And the next level is MCC, right? So it's a journey. So similarly, if you can understand, okay, what are the different points in this journey? You don't have to know everything, but at least have a reference point. That's the what, okay? The how is the tactical part. So which is where you go into more details about how to do it step by step. For example, the journey looks like, okay, level 1, level 2, PCC, MCC. That's the journey, right? So how to get the level 1 certificate? And you have to do your peer coaching and all of this to get the recordings, apply for the exam, right? All of these things. That comes in the how. So I hope I answered your question. This is the simplest answer I have. But that by itself can be, a coaching program in itself. But I've tried the best to make it simple for you. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. The story, the who, the why, the what, the how. Yeah, makes sense. I can see it.
The beautiful thing about this framework, by the way, I didn't create this, okay? I learned this from one of my mentors. In business, people have been using it for centuries. So this is something that is in existence. In fact, when you start observing people who present the information really well, you will notice these things, not just coaches, anyone. So you can use it to get a speaking gig while you're presenting. You can use it while you're doing a presentation for a corporate to get them as a client. You can use it in different scenarios. Anytime and every time you're presenting information about you and your work, this will work for you, this framework. Okay. All right. Thank you. Next question. We can have 2 more questions and then we sign off. Who's
Okay.
next?
2 questions.
Come on, guys.
Either you all understood everything or nothing.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shama, yes, please go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, I call you Aki or Achilles.
You can call me Aki. Akhilesh is my name, but short name.
Yeah, I resonated with your program so much. when you started saying that you were in Bangkok, and I lived in Bangkok for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
I speak Thai.
Okay.
And then I moved to Kuala Lumpur, of course.
Right.
And so anyway, now I'm in Canada, I'm taking the call. And I think it's a bonus for me because I just woke up and I saw the group that there's a program and I just signed up.
Wonderful.
So it's a really bonus for me. So how is the life as a speaker, especially in India?
Mm.
Do you need to travel all the time or what does it?
Yeah, so this again is a very broad question. So I'll share with you my experience. One of my core values is freedom. Okay, and I'm not perfect in any sense, but I'm just sharing with you my experience. So one of the core values I have is freedom. So for that reason, most of my work is online, so that I can be location independent. So this really depends on how you want to do it. So my approach to this has been, first of all, like earn your credibility, however time, number of years it takes for you, earn your credibility. And then when you're talking to the decision makers, you can ask them, find a way to like either do it online or live. So this is completely up to you. And what I actively try to do is to get speaking opportunities both in India and abroad because I love traveling as well. And I want to work with a global group of clients. So this is completely up to you. So when you're talking to the decision maker, you can ask them the right questions. So can we do it online? Or do I have to travel? So to give you some more information, it depends on the community and how they operate. So for example, CJ, we have people from many different countries, right? So if we organize something like this in a live seminar room, I think less than 10% of the people can show up.
Right.
So this community is built this way so that we can be connected online. And said that if your target market are people who prefer to have one-on-one connection, then maybe they have a lot of offline sessions.
Okay.
Even in ICF, there is something called the conclave, right? That happens once a year. That is a physical, a face-to-face event. So this really depends on your target market, and you can ask them how they do it. If you want to travel, do that. If you want to do it online, that is okay as well.
Right. Appreciate your answer. It's a broad question, no doubt. But the way I look into it, the speaking opportunities, I work with the maturing industries, who are declining, and I try to help them out. So there, if I start doing this job, I'm afraid that they will be calling one day Ludhiana and another day Panipat, one day Calcutta. So these kind of things, can I really deal with that? So this may be my limiting belief. I don't know, but that's the way I'm. Maybe in the later programs, I will interact with you that to structure this.
Yeah, so the short answer is it is absolutely possible to kind of negotiate with them. But again, having said that, if you have to look at the history of the organization. So if they are like a factory or a company where people meet face to face, they might really require that connection face to face.
Most of the time, that is the request I'm getting.
Yeah, so this really depends on you, right? So one of the things you could tell them, because you're in Canada, it's like many hours away, you can tell them to organize it online. So, I mean, after COVID, a lot of people do this thing, they invite a speaker from
I don't live in Canada. I'm just visiting here for 2 months.
visiting. Okay.
To see my daughters.
Yeah.
So I live in Calcutta, India. So
I'll give you one more tip before I move to the next person. To begin with, to build the relationship first, if you think traveling there would be beneficial for you and it'll give you returns, then I would recommend to invest that time and money to go and do that. And when you do, after the first engagement, you can tell them, hey, by the way, I live in Kolkata. It's a bit difficult for me to travel every time. Can we also do some of these things online? So perhaps you can do like a one-day session live, and then a follow-up session or a coaching session can be done online. And that they can record it as well. So tell them the benefits, right? If you have a paid Zoom account, you can record it, send it to them. And that way you build a relationship, and then you also have time and location freedom. So this works really well. Like I do this a lot.
Right. Thanks a lot. Okay.
You're welcome. Okay, last question. Who wants to go for the last and the most powerful question? Yes, Sunil.
Sunil here, actually.
Hi.
Okay. You mentioned 3 types of coaches, right? The second type, which you said you should avoid, is what is the one that intrigued me, because you said if it's a speaking session for a SME, then you should avoid it. Can you describe a little more? Because the way I see it is, I come from a consulting background, and what I bring as value is my subject matter expertise. And the best place I am most comfortable standing and talking about is probably technology, right? So if I don't speak there, then where do I speak?
Yeah, great question. So let me clarify what I meant. So I was talking about the 3 speakers, not the 3 type of coaches. So the second type are people who are paid for their knowledge in a particular area. So it depends on the context as well. So what I meant by try to avoid this as much as possible is, if you're speaking to in a conference or an event where the people sitting in the audience match your target client profile, and you're restricted to only that much amount of money for that time that you speak, then if you look at it in terms of money return, it's not that high. I'll explain what I mean by this. So if you're speaking to MSME business owners in their company, then obviously that is the only option you have. And obviously you should go ahead and do it. You should never, waste that opportunity. So what I'm talking about is, as you build your profile as a speaker, you can do 1 and 2. I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm saying that in terms of the money return, the type 2 speakers are usually the people who get paid the least. So if you learn how to do the third type of speaking, which is you have a platform, you're not paid to speak there, but you have an opportunity to make a pitch at the end of it. I mean, in this context, I don't have it, but in some other platforms, I have that. So I make a pitch at the end of the masterclass. Or you have the organizer is okay for you to connect with everybody who came there. So almost like, they're giving you their database in a way. So that will, in the sense of making more money return out of it, it'll be really beneficial. And this is the reason why that's the hardest speaking skill to learn as well. But again, there is a science and art to it. It's not about talent. If you follow a proven framework, anyone can do it. So
yeah. So can I add to it?
Yes.
Is it okay? Yeah. I think Sunil's question is a great question, actually.
Yeah.
I know where from he is coming from. The second, the third type of speakers, I think it is an extension of the second type. Means.
Okay, so let me clarify. So this goes back to Shivani's question. This is going to be a little complicated, but I'll try to make it simple. So, when you're the second type, right? When you're speaking about a topic and you're teaching people or training people, the way you structure your content is heavily focused on the content. Like, let's say for MSME business owners, you focus on one area and you go deeper into that. But when you're the third type of speaker, you have to have a balance between sharing content, at the same time, subtly sending a message that, hey, I can help you with this. If you want help, reach out to me.
Very nicely said. Very nicely said.
Exactly what I am doing too. I'm being very honest, right? I give you value, and if anyone is
absolutely,
that's the main difference.
So the masterclass was about generating leads through speaking engagements. So that's
Let me see how many leads I get.
If you want to generate leads, then yes, the third type of speakers.
Sounds good. All right,
Perfect. Then thank you so much, everyone, for your questions, and for those of you who stayed back. Akhilesh, there's some amazing feedback for you in the chat. Hope you're reading it. It talks about the action steps that you plugged in at the end of each step that really helped put it into action and understand how we can really do it. There's also about the tips and how you made the perfect profile, and some of them are also talking about looking forward to the post-work. So
Okay.
thank you so much for taking the time today.
Awesome.
Anybody wants to say something finally, any final thoughts? Something
Yeah.
that you said?
You're asking me?
Anyone?
Oh, okay. I don't have anything to say apart from thank you to everybody who attended. And just one thing, don't just leave it at this session. Okay. Anyone can learn something and then nothing will happen just out of learning it. So
Yeah.
it's just cliche, but I have to say anyway, just implement what you've learned and then you'll see the results. And please let me know when you get your speaking opportunities. I would be the happiest person alive to know that.
Sure. Sure. I will connect with you in the LinkedIn. Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
It was a
Have a
great
great
session.
day, night, everyone. Thank you. Yes, somebody is speaking. Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Have a great day and night.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Bye.